But we'll start with this petal right over here. And I'm going to begin by just adding water to it first. Just be careful and mindful of where the other petals are around this one. Make sure that you have enough water on there that you get everything nice and saturated with water. You don't want so much that if you tilt up the board with your paper on it that it's just going to run right off. But you do want to have enough so that if you were to tilt your board, it might puddle up slightly. And we just want to make sure we get all of the little areas covered. Now see, there's a little spot right there that's a part of this petal. We don't want to get water in that area, so let's leave that out. Okay, I'm going to take a look at mine and see how much shine I have. Perfect. It's got a shine to it, but it's kind of a satiny shine. So I'm going to go in here and pick up just a little bit of my color, and I'm going to drop it right onto this flower. Now this is going to be our base color, so I'm just going to put this all over the whole petal. Okay, so that first petal is painted in. Now, why don't we go ahead and jump up here to this one? I'm going to go ahead and grab my size 2 red dot brush as well. Pull some of this paint over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go wet onto dry this time and just do a little glazing of some colors. I'm going to put some color right in here, run it right along the top of this petal. Then I'm rinsing that brush out, and with a wet brush, I'm softening that away. I'm going to get a little more of this color. And I tell you what I'm going to do this time. Nope, I'm going to do it the same way I just did it. I'm going to take some of this color and run it right along the edge of the petal right here. Rinse it, come back with a damp brush. Run that brush right along the edge of where I put that paint and just soften that away. Now I'm going to come over here into the quinacridone rose and get just a little bit on the very tippy toe of the brush and just drop some of that right down in there just to give that a little more color right on the edge. And again, I'll just take my brush, slightly soften those edges out. Okay, I'm going to leave that one alone now, and I'm going to come back to this one. So I'm going to use some of this pink that's out here, and I'm going to just kind of dry brush some color on here. So dry brushing just means that you have a little bit of paint in your brush. Your brush is barely damp, and you're using your brush and your paint almost like you would a coloring pencil or a crayon, where you are lightly and subtly putting color on. So that's what I'm doing right in here. And I need it to be a little more orange, so I'm going to come over here and pick up some of this orange color. Don't have too much on the brush. Then I'm going to paint that in right in here where I see that little more orangey looking color. And I'm going to rinse out that brush, take the water out, and then I'm just going to use just the tip of the brush to soften this out just a little bit and kind of blend it down into the flower just a little. Now, I'm going to use a little more of this color, pull it right down in here. See how there's barely any color there, and what is there is almost dry. I'll get some on my brush, tap off excess moisture, and then right down in here, I need to drag on some of this color. It's right there, and you'll see that there's little lines drawn where some of the veins are running up into the flower, and that's what I'm doing is just following along where those little veins are and kind of getting those put in and just adding a little bit deeper value in places where it needs it, just dry brushing with it. Okay, so right here we have some little veins. And you're just barely rubbing the tip of the brush onto the paper. Once an area gets dry, you can always go back to it and add a little more if you need to. Right here, there is a little crinkle in the petal. I want to show that. There's actually some little veins that run through here, so I'm going to mark those in place. I'm going to take a damp brush and pick up just a tiny bit of color. It's mostly water. And I'm going to add just a little bit of that right here, just to show that this petal kind of turns over and is got a little bit of shading on it right down here. Okay, so now let's take a look at where we might need to put a little bit darker color to emphasize where the droplets of water are. Still, we're going to do a dry brushing type of method for this. So we're going to outline where this water droplet is, just like that. Get a little more paint, come over to this one. We need to put a little bit of color underneath where that droplet is, go around the top of it. This needs a little more down here because it's casting kind of a shadow. So I'm going to make that bigger. And then I'll come back later and I'll take off the masking fluid. But I'm going to leave that on there for now. I'm actually going to take a little bit of color and right around where there's a little highlight up there, I'm going to put a little bit of darker color right around that. Okay. That was a lot going on in a small area, don't you think? This is all dry. So I'm going to add a lot more water to this little area right here where I have that color mixture. And I'm going to do just a light glaze over this petal right here because it needs to go slightly darker, not much, just slightly. I'm going to paint around the droplets. I don't want to add any more color to those because those need to remain a little bit lighter. But there's barely any color. Make sure to paint around that little petal right there.